Hello everyone, this is Eric Busher and I'm here to talk about my key assessment. Can we make an assessment that works for everyone? To ensure the student's privacy throughout this assessment, we will refer to her as Yushi. She's originally from Moscow, Russia, and she explains that she is not Russian. Her cultural and ethnic identity is that of a Russian Romani. She's lived in the United States for 10 years now and arrived knowing no English and never had the luxury of going through an ELL program. Yushi has also never taken the IELTS or the ACTFL or OPI, but if Yushi were to take the test, it's expected that her speaking and listening skills would be roughly equivalent to a B1 according to SURF, roughly a 4.5 band, while her reading and writing skills are lower, likely resembling an A2 level in SURF and a 3 to a 3.5 band in the IELTS. It's somewhat difficult to guess from my interactions with Yushi. She regularly uses software to translate her written responses, so getting a clear understanding of where her problems are is a little difficult. As Yushi has never taken any English assessment to enter university, it's created an issue where she needs assistance with her assignments, and as a result is struggling to keep up with her coursework. The educational setting of my learner differs slightly from what's typical. The learner I'm working with now is a fellow student at Webster University, a private institution. I'd initially thought that the social distance would be somewhat awkward. However, the student really did need assistance with their English, so it became somewhat natural. The setting was largely in the form of digital correspondence using video discussion and email in order to assess and assist. Most recent assessment. As Yushi has not taken any tests to assess her English skills, due to the difference in her reading and writing and speaking and listening ability, it makes testing somewhat complicated. She'd greatly benefit from a proctor to read. However, the goal is to assess her reading and writing as well, so just a simple assessment would work fine. I discussed this with Dr. Preston, and we decided that modifying a sample GED test would be most fitting. In order to assess her English ability, English is broken up into sections, splitting reading and writing. It's a little complicated to find a sample test which covers both, but upon reviewing the sample GED, it would seem like the GED as a whole would best suit assessing Yushi's English ability for an education environment. The idea of this GED practice assessment is to better assess Yushi's English ability in hopes to display what appears to be a gap between her current knowledge and what could reasonably be expected of a student entering Webster University. Yushi likely should have taken some sort of assessment prior to entering Webster, but it's already too late for that as she's currently attending classes. The best course of action would be to reflect on what Yushi's needs are moving forward. The original assessment. A pretest is not expensive. It's conducted online. There's no specific time limit. It's possible to establish a time constraint using simple technological solutions available on the internet. This would mean that the test is practical in this context. Secondly, we must consider reliability, essentially how dependable the test is. To fully review reliability, we need to look at student-related reliability, rater reliability, and test administration reliability. Student-related reliability refers to how a student is expected to do as opposed to how they actually do, and considering what factors may have led to this. Brown describes rater reliability as human error, subjectivity, and bias, which may enter into the scoring process. Finally, there's test administrator reliability, which relates to the conditions of the test administration. Reliability tends to account for things which cannot be accounted for until they've already happened. The best way to ensure reliability is to insert controls. With controls in play, test administration reliability can be ensured by informing the student how to control their environment prior to taking the test via computer. Rater reliability can be shaped by having a second rater review the results. Provided that the conditions are put into place, this test could be reliable. However, if the conditions deviate, it would result in an unreliable test. Validity essentially refers to how well a test measures what is expected to measure. The level of the test now is currently well above Yushi's level, and in modification, I hope to tailor some of the vocabulary without losing the meaning, content goals, or testing objectives. The validity of the test appears to be high. No data is provided to demonstrate this. Uh, the content goals do not mirror the test perfectly, as the test was designed to give someone an idea how they would do on a GED. I feel there's enough overlap within the content to be fitting. I do not see inaccessibility in the test, both linguistically and culturally for Yushi. However, several of the questions revolve around key vocabulary, which is beyond Yushi's level. So, such as tasks referring to, or tasks requesting to infer or define what is explicit. This is well beyond her level. Aside from this, majority of the test flows well, blending several types of English assessment, punctuation, reading comprehension, and vocabulary. For the intended audience, the test is very applicable, and it covers what you'd expect the student to know after graduating high school. The tone, for the most part, is decent and is objective with the exception of a few questions. Some of the testing items are not clear enough to be functional, such as state the purpose. The word purpose carries a variety of meaning, which can be unclear. And other times I see a high degree of subjectivity with the wording of several questions, such as what conclusions can be drawn. Lastly, I would say the test has several questions which have excessive verbiage, which could be cut down to make the test more effective. So the first question I took from the exam is two positively charged objects. What do? Do they attract each other? Neither attract nor repel each other. Attract each other only when the distance between them is small. Can either attract or repel each other depending on their position, or repel each other. This first question is far beyond the learner's English ability. She would not know the words attract, repel, positive, charged well enough to understand the subject matter of the question. With the content objectives being identify what effects positive charged objects have on each other and determine the outcome of two positively charged objects. This question strays from the norm of the assessment. Typically, the difficult wording, it comes from the question side and not the answer side, but in this question, it's all of the answers are just well beyond her level. To ensure a more reliable result, the answers would need to be modified. So this is what I came up with. The question is simply put as two positively charged objects, and then I added visual cues to better assess my learner's understanding without fundamentally changing the subject matter. I cut down on the wording, added picture cues, and that way the learner can make better sense of the question being asked, so the question can be understood even if the learner does not know the words positively charged. While I did my best to retain the subject matter of the source while employing techniques to assist the learner, this was not always possible, especially with the English portion of the test. So here's an example of one of the questions used. Read the following sentence. Can you prove that there aren't Martians living in caves on the surface of Mars? So it is reasonably for me to believe that there are. Identify why the reasoning is fallacious. Appeal to authority. Attempt at truth by tying the person of authority to the belief. Does not use factual evidence to prove the point. Appeal to popular opinion, saying that because most people believe something is true, it must be true. Attacking the person. Attempt truth by attacking the person rather than the argument. Appeal to ignorance. Attempt truth by stating that because someone can't prove your viewpoint, you're justified in accepting your own as fact. This question does not fit the objectives of the assessment. The question is actually a communications question relating to logic and debate. This question is not valid and will need to be rewritten for the purpose of meeting the objectives of the test, as it does not assess what the test purports to assess. So this is what I altered it to. Make a snowman tall. The first thing you do is roll a huge snowball for the bottom of the snowman. Next you roll another snowball. This one should be a little bit smaller than the first. The last snowball goes on the top, so it should be the smallest. Then make your snowman a face, sticks for arms, a scarf, and earmuffs if you can find them. Where does the smallest snowball go? A, the top, B, the middle, C, the bottom, or D, the face? The subject matter was not related to the source material in the original question, but if I had to guess the original content objective, it would be to read a short passage and make a determination based on the information presented. By altering the question, I hope to achieve that. So reading a short passage and making a determination based on the information presented, altering the content of the question, I hope to achieve that. And these are my references. Thank you.